A friend walks through your front door. Your dog trots over. Tail wagging. Ears forward. Loose body. Easy eyes. Everything about this dog says welcome. Then another guest arrives. Same doorbell. Same hallway. But something shifts. Your dog freezes mid-step. The tail drops. The ears fold back. A low rumble builds deep in the chest. You've seen this 100 times. And every time, you say the same thing he just knows. He can tell who's a good person and who's not. It's one of the most popular beliefs in dog ownership. That your dog has a sixth sense for people. That they can look at someone and just... I know. The internet is filled with stories that seem to prove it. My dog growled at my ex-boyfriend 6 months before I found out he was lying. My dog refused to go near my neighbor. And it turns out he was the one stealing packages. Hundreds of thousands of likes. Millions of people nodding along. Your dog, they believe, is a moral compass with fur. But here's what behavioral science has been quietly uncovering for the past 2 decades. Your dog is not judging morality. They have no concept of good or evil. No ethical framework. No moral reasoning. They cannot evaluate the character of a human being. But what they are doing, what the research actually shows, is something that might be even more impressive. And to understand it, we need to start with the nose. Your dog has 300 million olfactory receptors lining the inside of their nose. You have 6 million. That's not a small difference. That's a completely different category of perception. Alexandra Horowitz, a cognitive scientist at Barnard College, describes this in her 2017 book, Being a Dog. She explains that your dog doesn't just smell more intensely than you. They smell differently. They detect individual chemical compounds floating in the air. Compounds your eyes will never see and your ears will never hear. Your dog's nose is processing an entire layer of the world that doesn't exist for you. And here's where it starts to matter. When a person feels afraid, anxious, or stressed, their body responds before their mind does. Sweat glands activate. Cortisol and adrenaline seep into the skin. These chemical changes are invisible, inaudible, undetectable by any human sense. But they are right there in the air, and your dog picks them up. Butner and Thompson confirmed this in 2015. Dogs can detect hormonal shifts associated with human stress within seconds, not minutes, not after long exposure. Seconds, but that's only the first layer. In 2018, Biagio Daniello and his team at the University of Naples designed an experiment to test exactly how far this goes. They collected sweat samples from human volunteers in 2 emotional states, fear and happiness. Then they exposed dogs to those samples in a controlled environment. The dogs who smelled fear sweat showed measurably higher stress. Their heart rates climbed. They displayed more anxiety behaviors. And this is key, they actively moved toward their owners for reassurance. The dogs who smelled happy sweat, calm, relaxed. Some even approached the stranger in the room with curiosity. So here's the first reframe. Your dog doesn't know whether someone is good or bad. They don't evaluate moral character. But they know, with extraordinary precision, what that person is feeling. Fear, stress, calm, joy. It's not a moral judgment. It's a chemical reading. And they respond to it as if the other person's emotions are contagious. Because in a way, they are. But smell is only one channel. And here's where it gets deeper. When your dog looks at a human face, they don't scan it randomly. They use something called a left gaze bias. They look to the left first, which means they're focusing on the right side of your face. And in humans, the right side of the face is where emotional expressions are strongest. This is the same visual strategy used by human infants. Rocca and colleagues documented this pattern in 2012. Your dog reads your face the way a newborn reads its mother's face. Not through language, through expression geometry, and they don't just look, they interpret. In 2018, Siniscalchi and colleagues demonstrated that dogs can differentiate between angry and happy facial expressions, even on the faces of total strangers, people they have never met. An angry expression triggers avoidance, a widening of distance, a subtle tension in the body. A happy expression triggers approach, engagement, softened posture. Your dog is reading micro-expressions on strangers' faces, expressions you yourself might not even consciously register. But here's the part that surprised even the researchers. In 2016, Albuquerque and a team at the University of Lincoln proved something remarkable. Dogs don't just read faces or voices in isolation. They integrate them. Cross-modal recognition. The scientists call it when a dog hears a happy voice but sees an angry face. They stare longer. They notice the mismatch. They detect what researchers call emotional incongruence when what you show doesn't match what you say. And that changes everything about how they evaluate the person in front of them. Your dog doesn't speak English. They don't understand your words. They don't need to. They are reading an emotional map assembled from smell, to face, posture, and voice all at the same time. And when those channels don't align, when someone smiles but smells like fear, or speaks warmly but carries tension in their jaw, your dog notices. Instantly. Now, this is where the science takes a turn that most people don't see coming. In 2015, a team led by Fujita Chijiiwa at Kyoto University designed one of the most important experiments in canine social cognition. And it tested something extraordinary. Whether dogs evaluate people based on how those people treat their owner? Here's how it worked. A dog sits and watches while their owner tries to open a sealed container. The owner turns to a stranger and asks for help. In one scenario, the stranger helps. In the other, the stranger turns away and refuses. Then both strangers, the helpful one and the unhelpful one, offer the dog a treat. And the dogs refused food from the person who had refused to help their owner. Not randomly, not sometimes. Consistently, they chose the helpful stranger, or even a neutral third party who hadn't been involved at all. But they avoided the unhelpful one. Behaviorally, this is consistent with what researchers call social punishment. The dog watched, the dog remembered, and the dog acted on what it saw, not based on how the stranger treated the dog itself, based on how the stranger treated the dog's person. This ability has a name: third-party social evaluation. And before this study, it had only been documented in 2 groups on Earth: primates and human children over the age of 3. Dogs became the first non-primate species ever recorded to demonstrate this capacity. They don't just respond to how people treat them directly. They watch how people treat others. They form judgments based on observed interactions, and they adjust their behavior accordingly. That's not instinct, that's social intelligence, and it doesn't end there. Marshall Pasquini and colleagues confirmed in 2011 that dogs routinely do something we might call eavesdropping. They observe interactions between humans, even when those interactions don't involve the dog at all. They watch, they process, and then they use that information to decide who to approach, who to trust, and who to keep their distance from. Your dog is not ignoring your conversations. Your dog is cataloging your relationships. But here's where it gets even deeper. In 2009, Friederike Range and her team at the University of Vienna designed an experiment that tested something remarkable. Whether dogs have a sense of fairness? 2 dogs sit side by side. Both are asked to give their paw. Both comply. But only one receives a treat. The other gets nothing. Round after round. The same thing happens. One gets rewarded. One doesn't. And after several rounds, the unrewarded dog does something extraordinary. It stops, refuses to give the paw, turns away, shuts down cooperation entirely. This is called inequity aversion, and it means something profound. Your dog isn't just tracking how people treat you. They're monitoring whether the system itself is fair, whether rewards match effort, whether the rules are applied equally. They don't have the word for justice, but they have the circuitry for it. A built-in surveillance system that flags unfairness and responds by withdrawing cooperation. So let's be very precise about what we're saying here. Your dog does not have a moral compass. They cannot reason about right and wrong in abstract terms, but they have something that, in practice, functions remarkably like one: a system for detecting injustice, for flagging violations of social expectations, for remembering who was fair and who was not. It's not ethics. It's something older, something built into their biology. Now let's go inside the brain. Gregory Burns is a neuroscientist at Emory University, and starting in 2012, he did something that had never been done before. He trained dogs to lie completely still inside a functional MRI scanner, awake, unrestrained, no sedation, And what he found in the caudate nucleus, the part of the brain that processes reward and positive expectation, fundamentally changed our understanding of how dogs see people. When dogs smelled their owner's scent, the caudate lit up, significantly more than for any other human scent. More than a familiar friend, more than a dog-loving stranger. The caudate nucleus in a dog's brain operates in a way that's strikingly similar to the same region in the human brain. The region that processes what neuroscientists call social value. Who matters? Who brings safety? Who can be relied on? Your dog has dedicated neural architecture for ranking the people in their life. And the research is remarkably consistent. You rank highest. Not because you feed them, because of who you are to them. And here's what Burns discovered in his 2017 research that stunned even his own team. Some dogs, not all, but a significant and measurable number showed a stronger caudate response to verbal praise from their owner than to food. Think about that for a moment. For these dogs, hearing the words "good boy" activated more reward circuitry in the brain than a piece of steak placed in front of them. They don't just value you for what you provide. Research suggests they value you for who you are, for the emotional experience of being near you, and now we reach the chemistry of trust itself. In 2015, Miho Nagasawa and colleagues published a landmark study in Science, one of the most prestigious scientific journals in the world. They discovered that when dogs and their owners gaze into each other's eyes, both experience a surge of oxytocin, the bonding hormone, the same molecule that bonds a mother to her newborn child. And it creates a loop. The more they gaze, the more oxytocin flows. The more oxytocin flows, the stronger the bond. The stronger the bond, the more they gaze. This loop was thought to be unique to human parent-child pairs. Dogs are the only other species on Earth that shares it with us. Mueller and colleagues tested this further in 2015. They administered intranasal oxytocin to dogs, a simple nasal spray, and then observed their social behavior. The results were striking. Dogs with elevated oxytocin became more socially biased. They approached familiar people more readily. They sought out contact with their owner more intensely. But they also became noticeably more cautious around strangers, more vigilant, more reserved. Oxytocin didn't make them universally friendlier. It sharpened their social filter. It made them more selective about who they trust, and this is a critical distinction. Oxytocin is not a love drug. It doesn't create warmth toward everyone. What it creates is something researchers call in-group bias. Your dog trusts the people inside the oxytocin circle, the people they've bonded with, gazed at, co-regulated with, and everyone outside that circle, they get a completely different evaluation. More scrutiny, more distance, more caution. This is why your dog can be simultaneously the most loving creature toward you and deeply suspicious of someone they've just met. It's not inconsistency. It's oxytocin doing exactly what it evolved to do. And none of this happened by accident. Brian Hare and Michael Tomasello proposed the domestication hypothesis in 2005. And it reframes everything we've just discussed. Over 15,000 years of living alongside humans, dogs were not simply selected for guarding or herding or hunting. They were selected for social cognition. The dogs who could read a human gesture, follow a pointed finger, interpret a change in tone, those were the dogs who survived, who were fed, who were kept, who bred, generation after generation. The pressure shaped their brains toward one extraordinary skill, understanding us, and the evidence for this is remarkable. In 2009, Wober and colleagues ran cooperative communication tests across species, and domestic dogs outperformed chimpanzees, our closest genetic relatives. Primates who share 98% of our DNA, dogs beat them at understanding what humans want, what humans are pointing at, what humans intend. This is not something you train into an animal with treats and repetition. This is 15,000 years of evolutionary engineering. Your dog was literally built to read you. Wolves evaluate social situations too. They read body language. They assess threats. They monitor pack dynamics and hierarchies. But dogs evolved something wolves never developed. A second dimension of social evaluation. Wolves ask one question, is this individual dangerous to me? Dogs ask a far more sophisticated question, is this individual treating my person fairly? That's not just threat detection. That's loyalty. Social loyalty, coded into neural architecture over thousands of years of coevolution. So what does all of this look like when it comes together? Every time your dog meets a person, they activate at least 5 evaluation channels simultaneously. Smell, reading chemical signatures of stress, calm, or fear. Face scanning for expressions and left gaze emotional cues. Voice processing tone, pitch, and emotional valence. Social memory, recalling whether this person has been fair, helpful, or dismissive in past encounters. And oxytocin bonding, state determining whether this person is inside or outside the trust circle. Your dog assembles what scientists might call an evaluation profile, and they update it in real time. Every encounter, every visit, every interaction, so the next time your dog growls at someone standing in your living room, consider what might actually be happening. That person might be carrying the chemical signature of stress or anxiety. Their facial expression might not match their tone of voice. Their body language might carry tension they aren't even aware of. Or they may have been dismissive to you in a way you brushed off but your dog did not. It's not that your dog sensed a bad person. They detected mismatched signals, incongruence, and they responded the only way they know how. But one thing is important to be honest about. Dogs are not infallible social detectors. They can react to unfamiliar appearances, unusual body movements, or scents they simply haven't encountered before. A dog who hasn't been well socialized may growl at anyone new not because of what that person is feeling, but because of what the dog is feeling. An anxious dog may project its own fear onto a harmless stranger. A negative experience with one person, a loud voice. A sudden movement can generalize to anyone who looks or sounds similar. Your dog's reactions are meaningful, but they are not moral judgments, and they should never be used to evaluate another person's character. That said, there is one signal worth paying attention to. If your dog consistently avoids or reacts to one specific person, even after repeated exposure and plenty of time to habituate, it may be worth pausing. Not to judge that person, but to observe, watch their body language, notice whether their words and expressions align. Your dog may be detecting something that your conscious mind has learned to dismiss. Not evil, not malice, just incongruence, a gap between what someone shows and what they feel. And sometimes, that's worth noticing. So, let's go back to that moment at the front door. The doorbell rings. One guest gets the loose body wag. The other gets the low growl. Now you know what's happening behind those eyes. Your dog is not judging character. They are not reading souls. They are running one of the most sophisticated social evaluation systems in the animal kingdom. Chemical detection, facial decoding, cross-modal voice analysis, social eavesdropping memory, oxytocin-gated trust profiling, all processing simultaneously, all in real time. All before you've finished saying hello. Your dog doesn't know who is good. They don't know who is bad. But they know who makes you calm, who acts fairly when they think no one is watching, who carries the scent of fear beneath a confident handshake, who says one thing while their face says another. In a world full of people who have learned to mask what they feel, your dog reads the version they can't hide. And honestly, that kind of honesty, biological, involuntary, unflinching, might be more trustworthy than any moral judgment we could ever make. Next time your dog growls at someone at the door, don't say he just knows. Ask yourself something better. What is my dog reading that I can't see?